everybody? It's your boy Omega. Welcome to a brand new Comic Crusaders special. And today we have an amazing guest. I mean, it's going to blow the roof off your head because this woman does it all. I mean, I thought I did a lot. But first off, if we introduce her, this legend, let me introduce a fellow Crusader that also does a lot of stuff with the Crusaders on the side as an independent creator, the one, the only Mr. Jeff Bracey. How you doing, bro?
I'm good. And you're obviously doing pretty great.
Yeah, I'm always doing good. It's a good day. It's Friday Eve. You know, I'm hanging with a fellow Crusader, and I'm about to hang out with a legend. I mean, this is a woman that does it all: a producer, a director, an acting mentor. She runs a conservatory. Oh my God! I mean, a director. I mean, got films that have come out, films that are being made. I mean, films that are. I mean, listen, she does it all. I'm impressed. The one, the only, the legendary, the mighty Michelle Danner. Wepa, how you doing?
Hi, how are you? I'm pretty good.
Thank you for coming through to the Comic Crusaders podcast special today. I appreciate you coming through and giving us your time because I know it's important. Because listen, folks, this woman over here, I'm telling you, has a full palette. I can't believe how she manages her time. I gotta learn here. So let's learn from this legendary lady right here. Let's reel it back just a tad, if you will, because we love our good origin story at the Comic Crusaders family. You'll tell us your origin story. Where are you originally from, and the first thing you ever fell in love with in fandom?
So I was born in New York, but my dad opened the very first William Morris agency in Paris, in France, in the 60s. So we moved there, and I grew up and, you know, probably fell in love. My first love was French literature. I was an avid reader, and I would read a lot, and I'd cut classes to go to the movies. I have a vivid memory of going to see Young Frankenstein with Gene Wilder on the Champs-Élysées. Yeah, I mean, I've always loved to read, and storytelling is at the core of everything that I've been always passionate about.
Okay. So here that's your first love. Your father has an agency. All right. So then was that how you started stepping in? You know, what's the story? What's the story of you breaking in and you know to that moment where you said, okay, I want to do this for my life?
I think in school I read, for instance, a novel by Alexandre Dumas called The Queen's Necklace, The Affair of the Necklace. And with Louis XVI, the king, with his mistress and Marie Antoinette. And I remember being fascinated with that. And I adapted into a play. And I cast everybody in the school. So the teachers thought it was awesome. But then I kind of revolutionized the school because I pulled kids out of the classes to do rehearsals and, you know, basically the performances. And it was like a really big venture that I did. So teachers both loved me and were like, she's making us crazy. But the students really liked it. When I first moved to Paris, I was La Petite Américaine, the little American girl. And
how old were you when that happened?
4, and they would bully me and they would tease me and they'd put frogs in my bag and I'd be like, and they threatened to cut my hair, and that was a whole thing. I was definitely the little American girl that they would tease and make fun of. And then I guess I found a way to turn it around for myself. And I became, you know, this like casting director. I gave opportunities to people to act, and everybody was so excited about it. And and I became the most popular girl in school. I went from the little girl that was being bullied to like the most popular girl. I found my way to the other side.
All right. So I got to ask before I move on to Bracey, did any of those bullies ever try to be cast in any projects, and did you just deny them because you could?
No, I was very all-encompassing.
Hey,
politically correct.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, so those were my early years growing up in Paris. And of course, you know, the upbringing was, you know, just very intellectual. I would always go to the library and walk out with 2 bags filled with 19 books.
Folks.
Yeah, I just love I love going to the movies. I loved going to the theater. I organized different things. Actually, I rented a theater in Paris. No, actually, I didn't rent it. They gave it to me for free. It was the municipality gave it to me, and we staged Antigone, a French play by
Oh,
Jean Anouilh, and I cast all these people. And then at the end, we went like we collected with the hats, donations.
yeah.
Everybody gave us like a lot of money. So we went back to the house, and I divided it amongst everybody.
Oh,
Um, and that was a great experience. Yeah, at a very young age, I was not only creative, but I was also very proactive. I
Hmm.
found a way to get to do my art and not just, talk about it. I just wanted to get it done. And that I think is something that has followed me until this moment. I don't just talk about doing things, I do them.
mm, yeah, Bracey.
So when I tell my students, you gotta get off your butts and you've gotta, get on with it. I don't just, talk. I say to them, I walk the talk as well.
Oh, during our backstage segment, you were telling us a few things, like with your father having started the William Morris Agency. It's almost like you were auditioning from the time you could walk, talk, and you would tap dance on the table for folks, and just this. You're really raised up in the culture of entertainment. And I was wondering, out of all the things you've done, because you mentor, you write, you direct, you produce, you do all these things. What is your favorite aspect? What's your favorite? What's your passionate? What is your passion of like this whole creative endeavor of like being involved in theater and film?
Everything that I do, I love equally. I have an equal passion for theater and film. When I go to New York, I go to see as many shows as I can see. Here in LA, I see as much. If I travel all over the world, I find myself into a theater. Obviously, I love making movies because I've been making them. I can't isolate one thing that I like more than the other. The teaching to me feels, something that I'm contributing. I'm passing down the knowledge. The acting is great because I always feel like I lose a lot of weight when I act, so because I'm using myself emotionally instead of going to get, ice cream and pizza and cookies. I don't need that because I'm using myself in that way already. Directing I like because you get to sign the painting, you get to do the composition, you get to pick the colors and the textures. And that's what I love about directing.
What came first, Michelle? Was it the teaching or the directing?
The acting. The
Yeah.
acting came first, which made me understand deeply an actor's process and how courageous actors have to be. And then the directing came after that, and then I'm sorry, the teaching came after that. But I was also directing. It was basically together, it was hand in hand. I would direct theater and then started to direct film over 20 years ago, and I've made 7 or 8, I'm not counting anymore, feature films. And yeah, I'm excited because I have one coming out October 6th. I'm going to plug. It's Miranda's Victim.
What is it called?
Miranda's Victim. It's a courtroom thriller with Abigail Breslin in the lead. A very courageous story about based on a true story. It's about how the Miranda rights came about.
Ah, okay.
And when the movie was offered to me, I had no idea. I was like, oh my God, no one's made this story. No one said, my last movie, The Runner, you have the right to remain silent. You have the right, but I never questioned, like, where did that story came from? Where did it originate from? And so it turned out it was actually a great, fascinating story. And it was never told, neither through a documentary or a miniseries or not even a Law and Order episode.
Interesting.
So this is it's the true story of Patricia Weir and how the Miranda rights came about. And we're going to be released on October 6th. And there's some extraordinary acting legends in this movie. Donald Sutherland is in it.
Yes.
And, Andy Garcia, Kyle MacLachlan, Ryan Felipe, Luke Wilson, Emily Van Camp, Josh Bowman, Dan Lauria. I know I'm forgetting people. Enrique Murciano, who's incredible in it. Brian Sexton. Mireille Enos, who's beyond the beyond. She plays the mother of Abigail Breslin. Did I mention Emily Van Camp? I mean, it's got this cast, Nolan Gold, Taryn Manning. It's got this
great ensemble cast.
Yeah, it's great.
It's remarkable because I of all the years we've heard like on TV and film, Miranda rights, it never even occurred to me. It's like, why are they called the Miranda rights? Where
Who's
did that?
Miranda? We never questioned it.
Yeah, nobody knows. Nobody knows that. You have to watch the movie now, so then
That's-
you'll know the true historical, details behind this incredible story.
That's
Oh,
one of the great things about being a creative, though, is like sometimes you just run across some little thing and you're like, this story hasn't been told yet, and I get to be the one to do it. And so that's a really remarkable thing you get to do.
Yeah.
Now, I understand that you work in multiple genres, but your favorite turns out to be comedy, and particularly you are fond of French comedy. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I've, always loved French actors, and I just finished shooting a comedy called The Italians, but it could be called, the French family or the American family. It's going to have a universality to it. And again, I was just so blessed to have this cast that came to do it. Rob Estes, I'm acting in this one, so
Oh.
which is fun.
hey.
And Lainey Kazan plays my mother, and Matthew Daddario plays my son, and Abigail Breslin is in it.
Now, sorry for a second. Are you directing this as well?
I was directing and acting, yeah.
Check it
I've
out.
always thought that's got to be a really tough gig, but
And I know I'm going to get a lot of questions about that, but you know what? It wasn't for me. First of all, I have a great team. A lot of the people I've worked with before were on this movie. So I had a relationship to everybody, and the energy on set, behind the camera, in front of the camera, was just extraordinary. And I wasn't the only one to say it. Everybody said it. It was just an incredible experience. And yeah, I had help. I have my producers that I've worked with for over 30 years. That ages me considerably. I have, my son who, goes to USC, studies theater and film. And he was there, so supportive. And so I had the help.
I love that. A family affair for you.
Yeah, but nevertheless, but it's possible. You can do it. You just have to know little tricks. It's little tricks that you have to know. But it was definitely like a lot of fun. Every single day of the 18 days that we shot, I was just, having so much fun, which that was my goal. If anything, I just wanted to have fun, and that happened.
It's I find it remarkable that you say that, because you have a little bit of an air of Terry Garr about you when I look at you here. And she talked about Young Frankenstein was in fact her first film, and she talked about how much fun that film was, and she thought this will be the greatest career because filmmaking is always going to be fun until she learned otherwise. It's
Right.
like Mel Brooks had a very fun set, obviously, but I would think that having started as an actor and then working as a director, that must be quite a boon to you on set because you understand the actor's perspective.
I do. I think that actors feel that. I do understand them deeply. And I know, but I never take it for granted that I know how to talk to an actor. You have to have a sensitivity to what to say and not to say too much and when to say it. And sometimes to say nothing at all. Sometimes I'm in Video Village and somebody will whisper something in my ear and I don't give the note, because you have to also know when to not give a note. Because you can put an actor in their head, and you don't want to do that. That's the worst thing that you want to do. You want to create a space where an actor feels safe, they can explore and they can take risks. That's the ultimate goal.
Now, that's fascinating to me because I've enjoyed watching things, of course, like Inside the Actor's Studio and the directors and the Bravo channel, and seeing the perspectives from two sides. And as a director, knowing there are some actors who just want to be left alone. They want to craft the identity themselves and roll with it. And you just kind of like set the stage for them. And other actors who, I don't want to say they're insecure, but they crave direction. They crave that input from the director, and having to figure out who needs what and how best to approach them. That's quite a skill to have.
That's the skill you have to develop. And my son wants to direct. And I say, just be sensitive to that. I think he's learning. Just be sensitive how to talk to actors.
Let me ask you here. So your multiple, roles. How do you balance those roles? As a teacher, director, entrepreneur. Even.
Well, you can't do everything at once, and you have to know your limitations. So I don't think you can be grandiose about what you can accomplish and what you can't. Um, but I work with a good list. I have a list, and I try to get it done, um, and not procrastinate.
So how hard are you? How hard are you on yourself, and how disciplined would you say you are?
I don't know that I'm so hard on myself. I've tried throughout the years to develop kindness towards myself. I'm not a big one to believe in the whip and whipping you. So I have had my indulgences, but I have grown more into discipline. There's a line of dialogue, movie dialogue, that I love in the movie Heat with Robert De Niro. He talks about walking away from something, and what is it, 15 seconds flat, and he goes, "That's the discipline." He goes, of course, he doesn't have that discipline in the movie, but I've always loved the way he delivered that line. That's the discipline. So I've tried to be disciplined. I try as much as possible. It's an ongoing work in process.
Now, speaking of discipline, so I'm wondering about your approach on set as a director. Are you into rehearsals? Do you do a lot of preparation, storyboarding, anything like that? Are you some directors like to kind of fly by the seat of their pants a little bit. Others are just so organized to the nth degree. I'm curious about your.
I'm in the middle of all of that. I'm not so organized, and I am. I do like to do some storyboarding. I have a wonderful storyboard artist that I've storyboarded with. I do like to have a shot list, but then again, sometimes you don't have time to, map out every single shot you're going to do. And then you have to be flexible. You have to get there and you have to feel it out. You got to look at the rehearsal. You have to look at what the actors bring to the table. You got to craft that. And based on that, the shot list changes. But, improvisation comes from great preparation. So I do like to be prepared as much as I can be, and improvise from that.
Now, as for your teaching style, we know there are a multitude of different methods of styles of acting and acting teaching. What's your approach? What do you impart to your students?
I'm a great believer in, I believe in progressive education. My son, I had two sons. One of them just started, high school, and I chose particularly a progressive school here in LA that, I feel like they are developing new thinkers, for the next generation. And that's very much what my philosophy is in terms of teaching actors. I think that you have to be open to, I believe in all different techniques. I studied with Stella Adler when I was a teenager, and she's very dogmatic, and it made me want to run. But by the same token, I didn't run. I stayed and I learned from her, and rightly so. She had some gold to teach us. I love that word gold because I've developed a master class called the Golden Box, which is the golden box that actors have where they put their tools, not only the tools that they learn through different techniques, because that's basically what I embrace, Stanislavski and Sadie Meisner and Stella Adler and Uta Hagen and Michael Chekhov. So I'm not just one thing. I believe in getting it from everywhere. And then you learn things when you're on set, when you're on stage, you put those tools in your toolbox. And of course, life lessons give you those tools as well. And those join that golden box that only you have the key. And so this box that the artists put together for themselves, where they, draw upon, is a great box. It's a very individualized box. And that's what I love about teaching acting or sending my kids to school, is that it's not this herd mentality where everybody says you come to the middle and you're the same, that everybody is unique. Everybody is an individual and needs to be taught that way.
Yeah, I really like your take on things there, because I've seen actors who are brilliant, but they're very locked into a particular approach, and you get to see that in their performances if you follow them long enough. So I like that.
I think that the gold in a performance is the ability to be able to let go, to find freedom in your choices, and that's when you hit some really wonderful moments that have universality in them and that move audiences. If we know that art changes people's lives, and it does, And art, moves, people. It makes them want to do things that normally they wouldn't do or they wouldn't get in touch with. So I think that to be able to create a space where artists can take risks is the key.
Also, before you ask that question, Bracey, I want to know here then, talking about spaces where creators could get this stuff. Talk about the Creative Center for the Arts in the Los Angeles Acting Conservatory.
Yeah, so we have some wonderful space. It's a little quaint little theater where magic happens, and with a beautiful outdoor area, which we also have classes in. And we do a lot of there's a lot of great projects that happen, whether it's classes or the programs. We have a Los Angeles Acting Conservatory. We have students from all over the world that come study at our school. We have a great faculty of teachers, which is great because that enables me to go make a movie, because I know that our students have some great teachers. And also a lot of our students come on set. That's the other thing. And they get cast in productions, and there's nothing like hands-on experience to make you understand, what it takes to really be a working actor in Hollywood.
Absolutely. I like that. So universally.
I like that they get to come on the set like that and get that behind the scenes take on things. So, before they graduate or what have you, they get an idea of how the production actually works.
That's right. And it's just as valuable to come on set and to be in front of the camera and behind the camera. We've had several of our students come and, be PAs and production coordinators and work with the camera, work with sound, to really understand, work with the actors, assist, some of the great actors that came on set. That's an invaluable experience.
Absolutely. I think it's very warranted to know as much about how the production of a play or a movie or whatever you're getting involved in works, from like, if you can get the foundation on up, it just makes you better overall.
Yeah, totally. That's why I remember when I was studying acting in New York when I was a teenager, and studying with Uta Hagen and Stella Adler and Herbert Bergdorf and some really extraordinary teachers, I would also do a lot of plays, and that's how you get your experience.
Now, speaking of which, okay, so you've got your aspiring actors coming to you first day of class. I was going to ask the thing that everybody asks, like, what's your advice for aspiring actors? But I'm going to take that in a different direction. Your first day of class, your bright, fresh new faces. What do you say to them on their first day?
Just be patient, hang out, listen, study, learn. Don't be in a hurry. Everybody wants it fast, including me sometimes, the impatience of life. And just chill a little bit, breathe, hang out.
So how long before you learned that lesson personally?
What really taught me that lesson in a huge way was COVID. So I haven't gotten COVID until today. I don't have it today, but I'm, I haven't gotten it. But, like everybody else, I was home for a while, and I was cutting this movie called The Runner. And, always on the treadmill, always running. And that was the big advice that my dad handed down to me, but I didn't really listen. He said to me, you're going to get there anyway. And I know I see it all the time when you drive, if you rush and if you muscularize, and then somebody will be faster than you and they'll beep the horn, and then you both get at the light at the same time, and you look over and that person's like frantic. And I just think it's okay to take it easy. That's what I try and teach my kids, just, it's okay. You don't have to, you're valuable because of everything you've done so far. If you don't have to do another single thing, you're going to be fine. But COVID was great because it really put a pause on the treadmill. It really paused it, and you were forced to just take a break. And I like that. And I like the fact that I didn't have to be somewhere or do something. And, go to see every play that I can see, or, no, it's fine. So that's probably the time in my life where I learned it the most. And having said that, a lot during COVID. I traveled a lot. I did a lot of stuff during COVID.
I mean, that's great though, because like there's a lot of, I've had the opportunity to talk to a number of indie filmmakers, and the majority of these films that I've viewed now were shot and produced during COVID, and seeing how the constraints of that time force people to get like really creative and do some very interesting things that they might not have done otherwise.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's, I didn't shoot, well, we did shoot a couple of shorts during COVID, but I didn't shoot a feature film. Well, but I did shoot Miranda's Victim a year ago. That was still during COVID. So you see me wearing, I asked if I could wear the clear mask so that, the actors could see my lips moving when I spoke. And it turned out to backfire on me, that clear mask. So, it's like basically a mask, it's all clear. So we were shooting, in this very authentic police station and courthouse of the 60s. And, between the texture of the fire and between the actors smoking the cigarettes that they would be smoking in the 60s, all of that smoke came under the mask.
Oh, no.
And I got super sick. I almost had to have surgery. But even then, I didn't lose a moment of shooting. Like urgent care called me because I had gone during lunch, and they go, you have to run to the hospital because you may have this thing in your throat and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, I still have 6 hours to go here. I mean, if I go to the emergency room, there's no shooting happening today. So I stayed, and they're like, no, you have to go. You could die. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm here. I'm good. And I shot for another 6 hours. Then I went to the emergency room.
I'm picturing you like with the camera. I'm picturing you with the camera, and just the emergency doctor's there. You're like, yeah, hold on. Oh, that way. All right, now go cut. Go.
Something like that. Yeah. But anyway, I went, and they gave me like an IV and steroids, which I didn't want to take, but I had to because I had an infection. But no surgery, which was good. So I wasn't down for a second on set, which was great. Bless
Thank
you.
Goodness for that.
Oh, fantastic for that. So can you share any memorable moments or experience from the very multifaceted career you've had?
Oh God, I don't know. There's like moments of experience.
That'd be a laundry list.
Yeah, I don't know. The last day of Miranda's Victim, since that's always very present, we had lost time because there were thunderstorms in New Jersey in June, so we lost scenes. And I had to make them up the very last day. It was the very last day of shooting, and that was it. I was either cut them or make it happen. And I needed those scenes. And I remember swimming earlier in the day. Our call time was 5 p.m. And I remember swimming, and there was this bird that came perched on the edge of the rail. And I looked at this bird, and I said, how am I going to get all these setups today? Like, how am I going to do this? And this bird stayed with me for a while. I had this conversation with this bird, which of course I thought was my dad, because my dad, passed away. So I went on set and told my DP and my first AD, he loves hearing this story, that guys, we've got 27 setups, and this has to happen today, because it's just, this is it. If I don't get it, I don't get it.
Because you told them because the bird told us to.
The bird told us to.
They both told me I was crazy and that it was not going to happen, and I need to, reevaluate what I was. And I said, no, guys, we're going to make this happen. And I don't know what it was that day, but I had split the locations. It was the big rape scene we were shooting that day, and I had allocated a whole day to it, and now I only had a few hours to do it. And so the first location was this bus stop, and I said, we have to be out of here at 11 because we have to move to another. It was a company move. When you're shooting, it's like insanity.
Yeah.
I said, we're moving to another location. And I didn't want to try and get meal penalties because that was going to be really expensive for everybody, because I was also a producer on the movie. So I had that hat on too. And sure enough, it's like we got out of there exactly on the dot, not a minute before, not a minute later, exactly at 11:30, we walked out of there. It was 11. We walked out of there and going to the other location, which was the beach. And my DP's like, we're not going to be able to get all these setups in the car. And also the light comes on at 4:30 in the morning. You're not going to get the last hour. And I'm like, no, we're going to black out the windows and we're going to go handheld in the car and I'll direct it. I'll go in the car with the camera person and we're going to get exactly what I need. So at the end of it, we stopped at 5:30 in the morning. Exactly. It was apocalyptic because the sun was rising on the ocean and everybody came because it was a wrap, you know? So it was like, I don't know how many people were there, 50, 70 people came. It was a big movie. It was like a wrap. And then I said I was going to be home at 7 a.m. And I had my housekeeper that came with me, the house we rented on the ocean. And I walked in at 7 a.m., not at 7:01, not at 6:59. So that was like a story that will always stick with me because it was the power of intent. I walked in and I said I was going to do it. And no matter what, I was going to make it happen. And it happened.
I really appreciate that can-do spirit. It reminds me very much of Steven Spielberg on Jaws, and the shark wouldn't work for most of the production. You know, his whole career is hanging on balance of this, and he just, all right, we're just going to keep doing it until something works. And in the meantime, I'll figure out something else. And it takes that to push through and get things done when, because things happen. And I really applaud you for making all of that happen.
That's right.
Absolutely.
So watch Miranda's Victim. It's coming out October 6th. I'm very excited about the movie. The trailer is going to be on people.com exclusively, I think Monday.
Yeah, so that's why we don't have any scoops, folks, because it hasn't dropped yet, but it's dropping. And I'm sure I'll ask Lori to send me that link so we could share it on the website because we need to see this. Because you got me very intrigued. Because I love those type of bio doco type flicks. You know what I mean? And I never again. Perfect thing that Bracey brought up. No one ever asked who Miranda was.
I know. It's great. I'm just so thrilled I got to direct this movie.
Fantastic. So with that, Bracey, you got one more. So that, and then I'm pretty sure she's a busy woman with multiple hats. Come on now.
Well, like something is again you brought up in our backstage a little bit. You've got yet another movie coming out. I believe you said this one's going to be a sci-fi movie as well. Helios, was it?
Yes, I'm very excited about this movie. This is a pretty big movie. It's got a lot of sponsorships in it. Blue Horizon, it's advertised. We got NASA support. We probably will shoot some stuff there. It's beautifully well-written sci-fi movie about disasters. And I just think, watching what's happened in Morocco and Libya, and, it just... these natural disasters can be prevented. And this is what the story is, it's human beings, stepping up to the plate and making extraordinary things happen. I love this story. It's about sun flares and it's, sci-fi. And I think it's going to be a really fun, entertaining moving story that people will see. Yeah, the movie's called Helios. And as soon as, the strike is over, we're going to start pre-production.
Yay.
What's your part going to be to play here? Are you directing, writing, producing, all of that?
Directing, writing, producing.
Woman of many talents right here, folks.
Box D.
Not acting in this one. Yeah.
All right. Of course, how you expect Michelle to do it? This is what she does. She's going to take charge. She's going to get it done. She wills the things to happen. She is a superpower woman in the industry right here, kicking ass, for real. A big salute to you. I want to thank you so much for joining us today to talk, about your career, what you do, these upcoming films, and the way you flip it. I mean, we're going from a drama type flick to a sci-fi flick, and then you got comedies, you got everything up there. So again, just thank you, Michelle, for what you do for us to keep us entertained and putting smiles on our faces or making us think. We need more people like you in the world. So just thank you. Continue doing what you do, especially with the mentoring. That's fantastic. Many blessings on that. All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
No, thank you. And with that, Bracey, thank you for hanging out with Mr. Mega today on the Comic Crusaders special. Mi gente, you know what it is. Follow ComicCrusaders.com everywhere, as well as UndercoverTapes.com. Hasta la próxima. You know what it is. Wepa!